Good morning, everyone. Thank you for showing up on a Friday morning. Welcome to Sustainability and Youth Programming. I am Joanna Goldfarb, the Youth Services and Sustainability Innovation Consultant at the Ramp Catskill Library System. And today we are going to have a panel with three amazing people who have done programs that are sustainable at their libraries. So rather than me introducing everyone, I'm going to ask all of you to introduce yourselves and also tell us a little bit about your sustainability program. I will call on you in the order that you show up on my Zoom screen. So Kristen, why don't you kick us off?
Yay. Hi, I'm Kristen. I'm the Youth Services Coordinator at the Western Sullivan Public Libraries. So our branches are Jeffersonville, Calhoun, and Narrowsburg. I'm here to talk about the Children's Garden Club that we started sort of sporadically through the years, but I'm going to talk about year 2019, where we had a pretty big group of teachers and children. And we are blessed to have a community garden right next to our library. So actually, technically, the garden's on library property, but it's run by the community garden, so it's not affiliated. The garden isn't affiliated with the library. Do you want me to talk more? I think we're just introing, right? Yeah.
Just intro for now.
Okay.
Liz, you want to go next?
Sure. My name is Liz Fisher. I work at Cornwall Public Library in charge of youth services. And we have a pollinator garden, which started off probably 2008 and has continued through the years, has morphed, has changed, has adapted to other things. But the very definition of sustainability, I guess, kept going. So what we do is each April during the week of what I call Earth Week, because it isn't just Earth Day, it should be every day is Earth Day, but yeah. We do a dig in the dirt day. So that's when everybody from the community comes and lands on our garden and we start it up again after the winter. So that's what I'll be talking about.
And Cheryl.
Hello, I'm Cheryl Jones from the library in Monticello. I am talking about two different things today. One being I don't know if you guys know what Trex material is, but a lot of people make decks and stuff out of it, but they also have a bench program where you can, I guess, collect and recycle plastic, like soft plastic packaging bags and stuff. And when you collect a certain amount, they give you a free bench. And so we've done that. And then we also hosted, in coordination with our friends group in 2019, a clothing swap for parents that went over really well. So we're going to talk about that too.
All right. So for the next few questions, just jump right in. If you want to answer first, go for it. How did you come up with the idea for your program? And if it has morphed into multiple programs, then how do you come up with those ideas?
I can start then. So I am a certified master gardener in when I lived in New Jersey, and part of our volunteer hours, I was part of a junior garden club that met every Saturday. So when I came up here and I knew we had the community garden next door, actually it was one of the first things I wanted to do when I was hired was to develop a community garden with the kids. So I'll talk about the process, but I kind of cheated with the idea.
Mine came from a Tinker Tots program that we used to have. I was sitting around with some parents doing Tinker Tots, and everybody was complaining about the fact that their kids grow out of shoes at lightning speed, and they buy a set of shoes and then 3 weeks later they have to buy a new size because the kids grow so fast. And so another parent said, hey, I'll take your other ones, like the old ones. And it kind of just blossomed from there. Like, this should be a thing. We should all be trading things rather than everybody buying new, because all of this stuff is just winding up in landfills. Mm-hmm. Fun fact, fast fashion makes up 32% of garbage in the state of New York. Yeah.
Did your research.
Yes. It's crazy. Shoes, clothes, all that stuff gets thrown away at an alarming rate.
Know that.
And like most of my programs, it probably started when I was taking a shower, because it seems like when I take a shower, that's when all the ideas come out. Otherwise, I've got too much going on usually. But actually, I had a kindergarten teacher come up to the youth services desk back in, I think it was 2008, and said, "Hi, would you ever like a butterfly program?" And I'm thinking, okay, what do you mean by that? So she is an avid enthusiast for the monarch butterfly, basically, and she does this incredible program. She even wears antenna, and it's all about how the monarch grows, how it migrates, unlike other butterflies, and then comes back. Da 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 da. 2 years later, I read The Carrot Seed again, which was a favorite book that I had forever, and thought, you know what? It's kind of neat that a little kid can learn to wait, because when you grow something, you have to wait and wait. And there are going to be a lot of people that say, oh, nothing's going to come up. It's not going to come up. You just have to learn to wait and take care of something. So that, in combination with this woman that was doing butterfly programs with us, I thought, you know what, let's start a garden here. And we had land. So that's how that all started, basically, with the shower.
What was, well, first, when you pitched your ideas to your director, what was the response? And then if there were, you know, community partners, what was their response when you asked?
I am blessed to have a friends group that will move mountains to do whatever I want to do. So I just brought it up. They thought it was a great idea, and then they ran with letting other organizations know that they were doing it and making sure that people knew about it. But my director at the time couldn't give anything about what I do. She knows that I'm going to do the program well, whatever it is that I choose to do. So there was no pushback on any of it. And she's also very much about the sustainability thing, and the Trex bench thing I'm going to talk about at some point when it comes up was her idea. So just as much stuff as we can do to get the library on the sustainability path is right up her alley anyway.
Pretty similar. You know, like I said, I had mentioned it when I first got hired. So my director was pretty happy about it. And I will say, and then I did work with a couple of community organizations. So it was just a matter of like finding the right people. So I was really lucky to have a team. The first year I tried to do it by myself, and it was too much. So that 2019, I did it with a team, and it was pretty incredible to be a part of and to watch. But I will say a long-term goal or benefit from it is at least 2 years, the town actually was proposing to knock down the community garden and pave it for more parking. And, you know, they have threatened to lay down in front of a bulldozer, but having had such a successful program, I think really helped the board sort of decide not to, you know, even entertain the notion, because like I said, it's technically library property. So
suddenly there's a song going through my head. Can you guess what it is, Kristen?
Mine too.
Paradise, and they put up a parking lot.
Yep, that'd be
Pretty
it.
much.
That happened to us, actually, but I'll talk about that later. Initially, the director I was working under when I came up with this idea knew that I had strange ideas. She was worried that it was going to be a little bit large. And I did start a lot larger than I probably should have. But oh well. I did go out and canvass the neighborhood as far as trying to get people who would donate things, and like topsoil, like peat moss, you know, the sustainables basically. And again, the friends, we have a tremendous friends group, and they had known me longer than this director had known me. So they knew whatever I did would work out. Plus I had a pretty, I should also mention my teen advisory board, we call them TUD, because they didn't want to be called TAB. It sounded like they owed somebody something. Anyhow, they were very helpful too. They were very gung-ho. And it's funny, over the years, each bunch of teens that I get has their own personality. So I won't necessarily have a bunch of people that want to go out and dig in the dirt, but I usually have one or two that can convince. And now that it's up and running, I have really good community support. So that helps.
And Liz, and I guess also Kristen as well. So Liz, you mentioned that you started off pretty big for your garden. Do you remember how big it was and how much it has grown? And Kristen, the same question for you.
Well, it's shrank and it's grown, and it's because of parking, basically. At one point we needed to we tore down the shed that was in back of it. We rearranged all sorts of things. And of course, gardens, because it's just plants, which seems to be a lot of people's attitude sometimes, get shifted, and we got shifted. And but the fun thing about plants is they keep going. It's the fun thing about nature also. Our earth is pretty sustainable on its own. It's us that does the silly stuff. So we need to kind of re-educate ourselves as to how to adapt to the earth, I feel. And we adapted, and we went in a different position, actually 90 degrees, and kept planting. And so we had something again. In 2019, we had a very successful get-go, and then went back to COVID where we didn't have anything going. So this year, lots of weed whacking, lots of going in and taking weeds out. And of course, weeds are just plants in the wrong place. So I'll talk to you a little bit more later about milkweed, which is got that kind of nickname also, but is incredibly beneficial.
Kristen, do you remember how your garden started and if it's grown?
So the first year I was pretty much gardening by myself, and I would like sort of throw in the programs that I could muster. And it wasn't as much of a group. So in the spring I did, like the DVD cases where they can plant and watch it grow. And we did seed bombs and stuff like that. And we do seed saving, but I think that's with the adults. And then one winter we really we have a seed library. But in terms of the garden, so this is like a half plot, and it goes along the fence. So we usually get one of these, and then one that's double in size, so maybe 8 by 10. And I think, and that's enough. The first year, I think we had 2 8 by 10 plots and a side plot, and it was too much. That was 2019. We had all that with a pretty large group of kids for our community, and we really didn't get into even the second plot. Like, it was planted by one of the adults, but we didn't really get to harvest it and all that. So for our purposes, the 10 by 8 and then the little side plot was a good amount for probably 10 kids. So then they each end up getting to be responsible for 1 square foot. So we do a lot of square foot gardening and maximizing space. And the community garden already has overrun community herb plots. So we get to talk about the herbs that way and harvest, but we plant vegetables, and then there's pollinated flowering plants throughout the garden and stuff. So for that, we've kind of stayed the same size, I guess, minus the 1 year.
So for all of you, when you planned or when you came up with the ideas for your programs, did you have sustainability in mind, or was it a program that you wanted to do and then it just happened to fall under sustainability?
You guys have more obvious sustainability things, so I'll go. It actually initially was a way to help these parents that were struggling with having to constantly update the clothing for their kids. And then when I started looking into like the ramifications of the fast fashion industry and how people buy clothes, wear them for one season and then get rid of them, it turned into more than that. So just research, a snowball effect.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, probably some of it was just me wanting to get outside, but knowing that within my community, there are primarily homesteaders and a lot of that's already happening, and knowing that it's losing generationally. So the families were very vocal about being glad to have a place for their kids to sort of start to go down that path on their own.
And mine basically is, I've noticed through programming that a lot of people don't let their kids get dirty. Oh my goodness, you're doing finger painting, thank goodness, because I'd never allow this at my house. And I started thinking this way, and then you'd also hear, you'd ask kids, okay, so because we started a pizza garden at one point also, and they would go, pizza garden, are you going to have like pepperoni trees, or they had no concept of where cheese comes from, so I said, well, no, we can't grow cheese and we can't grow pepperonis, but we can grow other things like tomatoes. What have tomatoes got to do with a pizza? Now, to me, that's pretty basic. I mean, unless it's an all white pizza, you got red stuff on there. What is that red stuff? But that kids didn't know where food was coming from, that kids don't realize that we're all connected. I mean, the fact that there's this little bug in a garden and it happens, or this squiggly thing that's a worm. Oh yeah, it squiggles, but what can this worm do? And worms end up being phenomenal creatures. And don't get me started on worms. I've actually done programs on worms, several types of worms. But it's just, it kind of evolved from that idea, and that kind of, I'd often, as a project with a story time, we'd plant a seed. And it's fascinating to see a toddler with a small sunflower seed and tell them that it's going to grow taller than me. And they're like, no way. And then you have the mammoth sunflowers grow and they're just like, but they also take something home that can do that also. That can grow in a windowsill. So. And I didn't answer your other question, that initial garden that I put together. And this was me kind of going for the, the gusto. I think it was 16 by 24. Because those were I could get 8-foot pieces of lumber. And so that's what I used to edge it to begin with. And I had a great big nursery just come with his big old truck. And that was a big deal too. Oh, the dump truck came and dumped all this dirt. We had this pile. It had to be spread out. So that everybody had to come in dirty, clothes that could get dirty, and shovels. And we still do that. I have someone who donates. First of all, he didn't realize libraries did these sort of things, but he donates mulch and topsoil for me each year. And when I really need more stuff, I've talked to the friends and we actually pay for some stuff because, it's trying to be sustainable with everybody you're working with. So.
It's great. And I feel like Pepperoni Tree is a really good title for a book. Someone please write that. Oh, go ahead.
Just to that concept, because I was thinking about it too, that, like I said, we're lucky to have a community garden. Not everybody has outside space, and our other two branches, I've been thinking about branching out. And one of the things, honestly, the raised beds, they make them on wheels. They're probably like $50. It's a certain amount of space, so it's not too much soil in there that would be overwhelming. It's a great height for kids, and you could buy one. I mean, they really, like, we're not feeding a family with it either, you know, they have to share all the harvest, so it doesn't end up being that much. They go home with little handfuls and they love it, and the parents love it. So, you know, you don't actually need all that much space to do any of these gardening programs, whatever you decide to grow.
Actually, I was going to suggest if anybody wants to start, you start small, and you can start small with containers. You don't even have to spend $50. Go to Home Depot, get one of those silly orange buckets, get yourself some duct tape. The kids can decorate the outside of the bucket with duct tape and fill that, and you can start your own. You can grow food, you can grow butterfly, pollinator type plants, whatever. I mean, get 3 buckets. That's what, $15 you've spent there just in buckets. Soil is not that much. And you can go to these people and say, look, I'm doing this program. We will give you credit. We will leave the Home Depot on the bucket. You know, you can kind of make those things work.
Some towns have free soil. I don't know where they are, but I know that there are towns that do offer it. So
yes, that's very true. And mulch.
I think if a town has a composting, town composting, you might be able to get soil.
Yeah.
But this is a perfect segue into my next question, which is, when you first did the program, what do you wish you had done differently that you have adapted to now?
I mean, the first time I did it, I tried to do it alone. And if it was a standalone program, you know, so I did it as a standalone program, but I knew, I was like, I just want to get this going. This isn't going to be up to my standards, but it's something, it's better than nothing. And again, I did it last year with the same concept. I just kind of did it alone with a very small group. So I wouldn't do it alone again. Like this year coming up, I'm going to try to get my people back together, because the way that we're doing it, it's a lot to take on, but it could easily also just be done as a standalone, or having a group come in and doing the manual work. I did a lot of the work on my own initially. So I think that getting the kids more involved in like the dirty digging and mulching and weeding, that prep that I tend to do for them, I would cut back on.
Kristen, I'm still guilty of that. I still, actually, it's a lifesaver for me, because sometimes I just need to go out and dig in the dirt. I don't know what that is about me, but it's a stress reliever. I can do that on lunch. Yeah, it's a good thing. I do have a couple of teens this year that have volunteered, and they know what they're getting into. They've done it before, and they're very helpful. Sometimes I just get teens who don't want to get dirty. So that's a problem also. But I would have started smaller, much smaller. But that year I did have a lot of community help, and it continued. So maybe not, I don't know. I tend to go big sometimes, and sometimes a little bit bigger than I need to, but it works from time to time. If you want to show the first picture, I can show you a little bit about, that would be 4092. Oh,
Is this
no.
the right one?
No, but that's when we had to relocate. Now, this is my compatriot, Lisa Sinclair, who always says, I can't get dirty, I can't get sweaty, it's too hot, blah, blah, blah. She comes and helps anyhow. This is actually when we had to reconfigure. You notice it's brand new curbing. If you would go straight from where Lisa is off the page, that's where our big plot was. This little tree here was off to the edge. That was a tree we planted when one of my helpers that I dearly loved had to quit. And so we planted a tree for her. And that has grown. It has a bird's nest in it. It's great. But anyhow, so this was the second get-go of the plan. What I'm looking for is So this is reestablishing the garden. This was 2018. Oh, that's my ending photo, but that's okay. Oh, that's Cheryl with her antenna. This was 2019. This is a butterfly program she does, and she tries to do a release if she has butterflies. And you notice all sorts of ages. Grown-ups too are over to the edge that didn't get in the picture. What is remarkable about this is I had several kids that had signed up for this who were on the spectrum. And they were moving around and they were dancing and they were loud and they were all these things. When it came to getting to hold their hand out and have a butterfly suspend, they were so still. Their mother came up to me afterwards. She said, "Thank you. I've never seen them behave like this before." So there is magic in nature. As we all know, after COVID, just being able to get outside was a treat. Yeah, it's amazing. If you want to go back to the three little guys, they are all very happy about getting to hold a butterfly. And again, if you put your hand out, the butterfly will actually creep up to the underside of your palm. And this was part of the release. These were all tagged. She tags them and works through Monarch Watch, which is a program run by the University of Kansas. They have all sorts of information on their website about if you want to get started in doing monarch butterflies and whatnot. Who do you want me to share? Whose contact info do you want? I just saw in chat, Amanda. Oh, the butterfly lady? Okay. She's a little bit, I'll share her info. You can say it came from me, but good luck. She's a little bit into her butterflies and very specific about who she does butterfly programs for. So just be aware it may not work. Okay.
Amanda, I'll share something with you too, because we have a butterfly guy who's also hard to get, and
Yeah.
he's very into his butterflies, but he put together a whole pamphlet of stuff, so that might be helpful. I could share it with
Oh yeah, please.
We have a
Because
bee
that
lady
sounds
too, if
all
anyone
right.
is interested in that.
I'll take some bee lady information too.
Me too.
It's actually my chiropractor. She's awesome. She's big into
All
bees.
right. I'm trying to think what other pictures I have. Oh, I see what other pictures you have. Oh, you have the, okay, go back to number 1.
Okay, and I have the collages too.
That's what I'm talking about. Collage, number 1. Yeah.
Collage one. All right.
So this is, I got a grant after I had established a pizza garden from Orange County. What was it? Orange, now I'm not remembering their name. Oh, and that'd be, it's Orange County Health, I think. I'll have to look that up again. I'm sorry. I don't have that at the tip of my fingers right now, but I had already established the pizza garden and I couldn't do it with a program that was already established. I had to do something else. So I said, okay, will you give me money for a composter? And that's those great big tumbler type things. Sure enough. But then they wanted information as to what I was doing with the tumbler compost. So basically we just made up a whole thing of what can you grow. And this was a sheet we gave out to this bunch because they wanted to know what we were doing with this. And why I brought it up is this has some things about the original garden that we had. The second year pollinator garden down to the, right, it really looked gorgeous. And we had everybody who had contributed and helped on the banner on the shed. Once, and you can see up there where the topsoil is being donated, once the parking lot was enlarged, that shed went where the dump truck is dumping right now. That went, all that property is now places to park. So we just had to reconfigure. That's all. Number 2 of the collage. So these are some of the teens that were working during Earth Week, showing kids how to plant. That was our sunflower garden. I had made a sunflower house reading area, but I had to fence it in because we have deer. We have a herd of deer that comes schlumping through and eats everything. So we have to put things, it looks like we have children in a cage, and we do actually because it's fenced in, but they were okay going in there to dig in the dirt. We'd still get hawks. We have all sorts of different animals that come. So that was my rodent eliminator. Those are some plants for the pizza garden. And it's amazing once you have a garden, how many different programs you can do off of it. The scouts will come and give you all sorts of things that they want to do and time. I had one young lady did her silver award and had made up apartments basically for the mason bee, which is a native bee. Honeybees are not native to the United States, believe it or not. So this was a native bee, and she had made apartments for it. That's something that I'm going to have to upkeep this year, because with all the wind we had, it's blown down. So I have to do something with that. If you want to go to the last page. So there are our mammoth sunflowers that start from a very tiny seed, and the milkweed seeds getting ready to go. The other thing I just want to show you is there's a JPEG that should be 4092, Joanna. You don't have that one. Okay.
I think so.
It was a picture of milkweed. This is what you see there are the milkweed seeds on the plants that have already gone through it all, but the monarch butterfly has to have milkweed to survive, basically. It's what they eat as larvae. It's what they also in the wild attach to, because then once the butterfly comes out again, the flowers will be there so they can get nectar right away. It's just crucial. So you need to have some sort of milkweed plant to have monarch butterflies. Actually, through that troop that you just saw, I got accredited as a way station. They went ahead and they did all sorts of cataloging of the different types of plants I had in there for monarchs, and went ahead and applied for me. So I'm actually a way station for monarchs. No, the garden is not me. So all sorts of things can be done once you plant something. I'm done.
Let me stop sharing.
Thank you.
Cheryl, how did you start, and what would you have done differently?
Yeah, thanks for the reminder on what the question was. I was so enthralled in what Liz was
Sorry.
talking about.
I tend
No,
to talk.
you're fine. I was thinking about what we could do here.
We're all thinking, where do we get milkweed?
Exactly.
Where do you get milkweed?
I'm on Amazon on my other screen.
You don't have
That's
to.
Everything comes
Sullivan
from
No.
Public Library seed garden. That's seed library. That's where you can get milkweed seeds.
I will give you plants.
Shameless plug.
The thing about but milkweed, and this is why it's got a bad rep, is that farmers don't like to have it around because certain animals get into it. It's poison, basically. It's called milkweed because when you snap a branch, its milky substance comes out. That's sap. Even if a small child tends to lick it, is not, you could get a tummy ache from it. So they don't touch that. I said, I'm going to snap it. I'm going to show you, but you don't touch this. There are other plants that are not as aggressive as the common milkweed, which is what we showed there. It's a very aggressive plant. It will take over. It has a root structure underneath that is amazing. I can dig up roots for you and definitely give you roots. I got mine from the Hudson Highlands Nature Museum. They changed the name and I always forget about it. But anyhow, I got mine from them. I got it from my butterfly lady. She now comes and gets it from me because she's moved. But you can also get it from the University of Kansas for free through Monarch Watch.
I imagine it requires constant culling if it's that invasive, right?
Well, see, what I would say is put it in a container.
Oh, okay.
But you saw what the seeds do. The seeds are little parachutes with, the seeds are at the end of that parachute, and they will take off and they will land in other places. I've had to chase our landscapers out of my garden because they want to weed whack. They want to come and they want to distribute poisons. And I've had to say, no, not here. You know, other places I can't say because that's how people, and you talk about letting gardens go. This is a wild garden. This is very wild. And if people know, I'm more into doing wild gardens than strictly landscaping. So I've had some to-dos even with members on the board who say, well, I want to know where you're going to plant things and what you're going to do. And it's like, no, I just want to have plants so the animals come, so that, you know, we get our pollinators in and whatnot. The nice thing about this is once you plant something like this, there are an amazing amount of programs you can do off of it. When COVID hit and we couldn't get into the library, I started doing videos on what can a stick tell you? And I pulled up a stick and it had lichen on it. And I talk about the lichen and talk about the scars, just like you get boo-boos, trees get boo-boo, you know. I was talking about milkweed. I was talking about worms, all sorts of stuff. It was pretty silly, but a lot of people latched on at that point and said, no, we love these videos. So, okay. I have done stepping stones where we make stepping stones for the garden. I have done, we do miniature houses. My art afternoon program, we go in. I have some seashells and I have some other things, but basically you go and take sticks, dead seed pods, all sorts of stuff, and you can make a miniature house.
I want to just answer Kathy's question in the chat. I don't do it every season. I just did it the one time in 2019, and then the world changed. And so we couldn't do it the year afterwards because we didn't, well, we were open by then, but we didn't want to have people bringing in clothes and then have us responsible for washing them. It was too labor intensive at that point, but we are going to do it again this fall. I do find fall is the best time that parents think of to do it because they have outgrown their summer stuff. The kids aren't going to use it again the next year because they grow a lot in between those 3 seasons. And then they really want the winter stuff because those are expensive. Winter coats, snowsuits, boots, those kinds of things are the most expensive. So parents are ready to get rid of the summer stuff and pick up some new winter stuff in the next size up. So that was a really helpful thing. I got that idea from just talking to a lot of parents that said, you know, these are the things that we need the most. And but yeah, as far as what I would do differently to address Joanna's question, last time, because we don't have that much storage space, when I first started working here, I was like, oh my God, we have a whole closet. The closet is not big enough now, but I don't have a whole lot of storage space to put things. So when we were advertising that parents could do this clothing swap, people were asking, could they drop off the clothing beforehand? Or could they drop off clothing if they weren't going to be able to make it that day for other people? But I didn't have a place to put it. So the way that we did it was we had the friends get here at 10 o'clock in the morning, and the people could start dropping off at 10. They could drop off and we would sort everything on a different table for each size. And then sometimes we would have it separated, girls clothes, boy clothes, if you could tell like easily. And then, so for the first hour and a half, 2 hours, we just were sorting. So people were dropping things off, and then they came back and we just did like fill a bag. We gave out canvas bags that had the Friends logo on them and just did like fill a bag and take your stuff. But the rush of trying to get everything sorted in that 90 minutes or whatever was too much. So I think to change it this coming year, I'm just going to turn my office into a clothing rack or something. I don't know what I'm going to do, but it's not going to be that morning. I might just have to reserve that room the night before and just start unloading everything and just keep stuff in. Most people drop it off in garbage bags or tubs, so it won't be too much in my office, but I think I'll definitely do it. You can drop it off like the week before.
You end up with a lot of leftover stuff. And do you-
Anything, so that's a good question because I was going to bring that up. Anything we did wind up with leftovers, we have a staff member whose church has a clothing sale. I don't even know if it's a sale or if it's just, I don't think it's a sale. I think it's just or it might be like fill a garbage bag for $1 or something very cheap like that. But she took everything that was left over.
Another question from Kathy, how are you sure that everyone who shops has donated, or does that not matter?
We didn't care. There are some people that just, our area is relatively low income that just didn't have anything to give but needed. And so, and there on the other opposite hand, there were a lot of people that brought things but then didn't need to get anything new. So we didn't keep track of that.
All right. If anyone else has questions, feel free to put them in the chat. And while folks are putting their questions in the chat, I just wanted to ask our three panelists, is there anything else that you would like to share about the program that you haven't already talked about?
Can I share some pictures?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so the main thing is we so I follow the Junior Master Gardener curriculum. And if you, I don't know if it'll let me, yeah. So I buy a book for all the kids. So I make them register. They have to commit to the 8 weeks. Of course, things happen, but then they get to have the manual. And at the end of the 8 weeks, they get to be certified as Junior Master Gardeners. And then we gave them, fun little things like notepads and stuff like that. And then we, in the back, we kind of do like a sign in. So I have they get a little sticker every time they come. And then, we started in a circle and we did some team building stuff to get them coming together. So it's kind of nice. I just really wanted to point that out that the Junior Master Gardener, there's a manual and if you want to get it, and then the kids book is really sufficient, but it has specific curriculum in there. So if you're thinking about doing it, it really tells you, it breaks it down by week and it gives the kids activities they can do. We had them plant seeds in the beginning and the egg cartons they were able to take home. And then we got the black containers were for the garden. We were blessed to have the Dirt Diva come in and she kept our plants growing, and we had a community member come in and do a composting lesson 1 week. And then when the seedlings were ready, we brought it outside, and like I said, we did a lot of square foot gardening. So we taught them how to use the space and how to companion plant. And then of course the little cuties were more than happy to be able to go outside and harvest. So you get an idea of how big the community garden was. We really taught them how to stick with your own plot and enjoy the other plots, but you weren't, able to harvest from that at all. So I just wanted to show that. And then, like I said, the Junior Master Gardener has a curriculum that you can follow, and then we kind of adapted it to what fit our needs. I don't know if I'll do the whole sort of rigorous 8-week course again. It worked really well with a team. I got volunteers from the Cornwall Cooperative has a Master Gardener, and then Pennsylvania. So I got people from both sides. A lady from Sullivan 180 came in and did one of the classes. The Dirt Diva is like a local gardener. She's just like a legend in our area, and she does our seed saving adult programs in the fall. So that's how I connected with her. And then she and I worked together over one winter to really develop the curriculum to how it would fit for us. So this is how we're going to use it. And then I coordinated who was going to teach which class. I got to teach nuts and vegetables. So we basically just ate the whole time. So I brought in, taught them, I happen to have a nut maker because I love peanut butter. So I brought that in and I showed them how peanut butter is made. And we tried to make raisins out of grapes in the toaster oven, and it didn't work, but we got to eat warm grapes. So it was, there's a lot of play in it. And the manual is a little more like content based, but they're their book has a lot of content, but it has mostly activities. So landscape design and how you can build that as an activity. And, you know, it's a lot of like play-based, I think is a lot of fun. So if anybody's thinking about doing it, they have a lot of ideas in there, and you can do the whole certification process, and it's free to get signed up on the website. So we're like on the website as a place you can go to be a junior gardener, or you can just piecemeal it. Like Liz was saying, you know, we had a club that could do it, but I could also then invite kids to come in on an individual basis if they don't want to be certified, because it could be a lot. And then it's a lot more fun. So that's it.
And I see some questions coming in. Keep them coming. I do want to give Liz and Cheryl a chance to say if they wanted to talk about anything before we get to them.
I just want to say, I love your clothing swap, Cheryl, and it happens at a great time. Wouldn't that be great for the Great Give Back?
That was the initial, when we did it initially, was
Yeah,
for the Great Give Back. That's when we're going to do it again this year.
I think that's a great idea.
As
fact
far
that-
as marketing it,
Yeah,
this is some advice when you go to do it. Definitely get that information out, especially to the younger grades in the schools, because it made a massive difference. I had almost no interest in it, and I sent it to the schools, and then the phone was just ringing off the hook from that point. So that, and then a lot of the parents that were in those initial programs where I had kind of formulated the idea were talking about it to other people, not even people that were, you know, real close to the library, real local, that were bringing their stuff in. And I still did have some people drop things off throughout the week before that didn't know, but for the most part, everything was dropped off the morning of. And then I would recommend beforehand you will definitely have leftovers. Partner with somebody locally, a homeless shelter or a church or something that has a program like that you can take it over to. So then you're also helping another community organization as well. Ours was all staffed by volunteers from the Friends, and the only thing they had to do when the people came in was give them a bag and kind of tell them this. We had little signs above every table that said what the sizes were, but just to say like the smallest is over here, and it kind of goes around the room that way. We didn't have a lot of older kid clothes, like 10 and up. But I can see different communities having more of that. So if that was something that you saw a need for, you could definitely market it differently than we did. But that was that. The Trex one, I didn't really talk about too much, the Trex bench thing, but that is really cool if you have the space and you need like outdoor seating. I would highly recommend getting in touch. Her name is Stephanie Hicks at Trex. I can put her email in the chat. If anybody is interested in starting a program, you get like a big plastic box thing that you can put in your lobby or wherever you want. And people just bring in their, like, think stretchy, like any plastic that's stretchy, things that wrap outside of a DVD or like the bread bags, anything that's an outside packaging that's stretchy and doesn't like crinkle when you touch it. That's the kind of stuff that they're looking for. And we just put it into a big old bin, and every time that's full, we take it out and tie it up. And every about month or so, someone from the Friends will take it to one of the local grocery stores that is a collection point. And I think there's Home Depot is a collection point, Stop and Shop, there's a whole bunch of them. Target used to be, they may not be anymore, but you just literally take it up to their customer service. They know what you're there for when you walk in with this big old thing, and they take it and then you add it to your total on the Trex website. And every time you hit 500, they give you an order form for a new bench, 500 pounds. Yeah, it's pretty cool. But yeah, I will put her email in the chat, Kathy. I believe she's the right person to speak to when you want to start a new program. If she's not, she can definitely direct you to who is. But it's very easy. We just have like a luggage, little Amazon luggage scale. So every time we have a full bag, we tie it up and attach it to the luggage scale, lift it, and it tells us it's 48 pounds or whatever. And so we write 48 pounds on it. put that into our log. They don't really check it. Nobody at Target is like saying, is this really 48 pounds? But we log it, and then every time we get to 500, they give us a free bench. We have gotten 4 now that are going to be installed on library property this spring. And then now we're working with the village and giving some throughout the village, because we don't need it anymore, but we can still
Now, that's any garbage?
any plastic.
Okay.
So things that like can't generally be recycled. The easiest thing I can think of is the bags that your bread comes in, or cellophane, or even like those plastic bubble mailers. Any mailer like that, as long as it doesn't have foil lining, is good. Yeah, there's a whole thing, that a document that tells you what is and isn't recyclable. But they bring that in. It's important to have one person that really understand, maybe 2 people that really understand like what is and isn't acceptable, so that when they go through and make sure that all of it is acceptable, they can pull out the things that people will inevitably try and put a, I don't know, like hard plastic thing in it, but it's not anything hard plastic. It's all squishy plastic, not crunchy plastic, is what we tell people. That's the easiest way to explain it.
And Cheryl, for your clothing swap, do you guys do like allow Halloween costumes?
We had a bunch last time, yeah. Well, there was a little girl, I will always remember her being like, Elsa.
I have so many Halloween costumes for my kids that I would love to give you next
That
time.
would be a really cool, just like early October or late September, just a program in general. Just
I have
just a
years
Halloween costume
worth
swap.
of costumes.
Yeah, because you wear them once, what do you do with them after
Yeah.
that?
And I feel
Exactly.
bad throwing away a $50 freaking costume.
Exactly.
I actually did have a bunch of people comment like, oh, you should do this for adults too. So,
Mhm.
I mean, if anyone wants to run with that idea too, I mean, I'm a children's librarian, not my circus, not my monkeys, but.
I do everything. Thanks for the idea.
Well, I have Halloween costumes for you then, Amanda.
I will request that if you do a Halloween costume swap, you take a lot of pictures.
Yeah.
And have a dressing room area.
Oh, we should. If I had space for
I
that,
thought
I would
that
love
was a
that.
suggestion that somebody made last time, and they make these little like pop-up things that just zip and they fold down to almost nothing. So I was thinking this time of just like popping one of those up in a corner if somebody brought their kid and they wanted to make sure something fit them. But not super necessary because you're getting the thing for free, but still cool idea.
Liz, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, not really. Well, if you want to start something like this, I'd start small, unlike what I did. Get help in people that want to do this with you. Get help in people that know specific expertise, like composters, things like that. Get grant money if you can, and get donations and partners. I mean, that's very, very helpful. Then you've got a substantial group of things and people that can help you out.
A second that. And to answer your question, Kathy, I'm not really sure. I don't think you have to be a master gardener to run the course, but kind of like what Liz and I have been saying, you can always pick through and do activities. So this year, I'm not sure if we're going to do a whole garden club because I don't know if I have all the volunteers again. But for Earth Day, I'm doing just a little craft program with planters that they can decorate and seeds from the seed library and, like paper seed. Little seeds are embedded in the paper. So I'll give them out, and then we do seed bombs. So it doesn't have to be a whole 8-week certification course for the kids to be involved. If if the master gardener thing is a dead end. But again, I would also start small.
Does anyone else have any questions? And feel free to unmute yourself and just ask it out loud. And Cheryl, thank you for putting the Trex information in the chat.
Problem.
All right. Well, if there are no more questions, I would like to thank our 3 panelists. This was lovely. Please keep an eye out for a program evaluation after. Oh, Kathy, you have another question?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah.
such a pain in the butt. But at New City, we had an enclosed cloistered garden. We had butterfly bushes, we had milkweed, we had, planting every spring and all of that. And now they're remodeling the building and my heart is broken. But now I realize from all these ladies sharing that I can come up with something new to do in a different location on the library property. So I really appreciate all their suggestions and everything. It was a great program. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's great. All right. Well, thank you again. Keep an eye out for a program evaluation. And I hope everyone enjoys their weekend.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.